Hi everyone! Remember me, my name is Miss Sarah. I'm a prevention educator here at SCAZA. We talked about setting reachable goals last week, and today we're going to talk about making responsible decisions. So think about that. Did you reach those goals that you set last week? If not, that's okay. Keep working towards them. Remember those 6 steps? We helped Wagner through the maze because Wagner had a goal that he wanted to learn how to catch a frisbee. But there's 6 particular steps you have to do in order to reach that goal. Name it, right? Picture it, okay? Say I can, believe in yourself. Then the 4th step is think how to do it. And then the 5th step is go for it. Put that plan into action. And then the last step is to celebrate, right? So that's what we talked about last week, but today we're going to talk about how to make responsible decisions. So think for a moment. Where have you heard that word before? Decisions. Okay, we make decisions every day. Okay, sometimes we make decisions without even thinking about it, but it's important to think about our decisions, and we're going to go into detail about that today. Okay? So I have my friend Wagner with me. Hi, Wagner. What's new? Miss Sarah, I'm in trouble. I was playing in some puddles. It was so much fun. Then I got hungry. I decided to go through the doggy door to get a snack, but I didn't wipe my paws. I tracked mud all over the kitchen floor. That's what got me in trouble. Now I'm not allowed in the yard without my human or leash. Oh no, it's not fair. I didn't mean to do it. It's gonna be all right, Wagner. So, who can tell me how the mud got all over the kitchen floor? Think about that. Wagner just told us, right? Yes, Wagner. He decided to walk on the clean kitchen floor with his muddy paws. It's okay, Wagner. It's all right. But Wagner made that choice, right? So wag your head, go like this, if you think we can help Wagner learn how to make good decisions. Okay? In other words, positive decisions, right? Okay, Wagner, you need to learn how to stop and think, right? Okay, so let's help Wagner learn how to do that. So this is what happened, right, Wagner? He went in the puddle and got mud all over the kitchen floor, right? And we know how this happened, right? Wagner decided to walk on the clean kitchen floor. So now, Wagner, we're going to learn how to stop and think, okay? But before we do that, let's talk about a consequence. What's a consequence? Well, Wagner, a consequence is what happens because of something, okay? It can be negative or positive. Good decisions have good consequences. Bad decisions have bad consequences. So you can either have a positive consequence or a negative consequence. Okay, so let's go over some examples. So if you chose to study for a test, you will likely experience a positive consequence, right? What would that positive consequence be? It would be getting a good grade on the test, right? So on the flip side, if you chose not to study for the test, what would the negative consequence be? Right, getting a bad grade, right? You probably won't pass. Okay, so think for a moment. Was Wagner's decision to go in the kitchen with muddy paws a good decision or a bad decision? Right, it wasn't a good decision, right? It was a bad decision, okay? It was a negative decision. How do we know it was a bad decision. Think about that. What happened after Wagner decided to go inside with muddy paws? That's right. He is not allowed in the yard without his human or his leash. So before we make decisions, we must stop to give ourselves time to think. So what do we have to think about? Right, you have to think about the possible consequences of our decisions. So now what we're going to do is a workbook activity, okay? So I have the worksheet up on the PowerPoint here, okay? We are going to help Wagner learn more about consequences so he can make better decisions. So we're going to practice thinking about those consequences. Remember, they can be positive or negative. No matter what, when we make decisions in life, we always have consequences, whether they're good consequences or bad consequences. Okay. So on the left side here, you can see that these are Wagner's decisions. Okay. On the right side are the consequences from Wagner's decisions. Okay, so remember, a decision is something we choose to do, right? We make up our mind about something and we act on it, okay? And then once we act on that decision, that's where the consequences come in, okay? So, let's look at the first picture on the left side, okay? First picture on the top on the left side. What is Wagner doing? Look at that. Okay, it looks like Wagner is thinking about eating from the garbage can. Okay. Now look at the pictures on the right side. Find what might happen to Wagner if he eats out of the garbage can. Okay, so if Wagner eats out of the garbage can, garbage is not really, that's not good for us, right? That's kind of, gross, right? So he will probably get a stomachache, right? So as you can see here, I have a line that goes to the consequence. Because Wagner ate garbage, he now has the negative consequence of having a stomachache, right? All right, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so it looks like Wagner is chasing a skunk, right? So look at the consequence pictures and see which one matches his decision. Okay, right. So the second one goes to the letter D, okay? That is the consequence, okay? And that is a negative consequence, right? Nobody likes getting sprayed by a skunk because then you stink, right? So because Wagner decided, he made that choice to chase the skunk, he now has a negative consequence of smelling like a skunk because the skunk sprayed him. All right, so let's go to the third picture. So here we are. Wagner decided to splash in a puddle, okay? Which picture shows the consequence? Right, letter A, okay? It looks like this is another negative consequence, okay? Wagner is shivering. He's soaking wet and he's super duper cold. Okay, so that is the consequence of him having fun in the puddle. Now he's cold. Okay, so let's do the last one here. It looks like Wagner is chasing a car. That seems really, really dangerous, right? So which picture shows the consequence of that decision? Well, that's not safe, right? And Wagner, he got hurt. So that is the consequence, right? Wagner is now in the hospital because he got hit by a car. He's okay, but he's hurt. So very good, class. Some consequences are not very serious, but some of them are. So let's go through these and see which ones are not so serious. Okay? Yeah, for example, Wagner shivering and feeling cold because he went into the puddle. Okay? So that's not so serious. Wagner getting hit by a car, that's serious, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through a poem. It's called the Stop and Think poem. And it will help you make better decisions. Okay? The poem is going to help us remember how to make the best choice when we make a decision. I will read the poem aloud, and then you will learn hand movements to help us remember each line. But remember, whenever we have a decision to make, we need to stop and think. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read the poem first, and then we'll go through the hand movements. Stop and think poem. Stop and think. That's the important link for giving yourself some time before you make up your mind. Stop and think. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the hand movements with the poem. Okay? It's going to help us remember the poem too. Okay? And it makes it fun. All right. So when I say stop, I want you to extend your arm out. Okay? Like you're kind of giving somebody a high five. Okay? And then when I say think, I want you to point to your head. Like you're thinking. Okay? Then when I say link, I want you to hook your index fingers to form a link between your hands. Okay? So you're hooking them together. Okay? So something I can't break. It's a link. Okay? All right. So when I say time, look at your wrist, okay? Like you're checking your watch, okay? When I say mind, put your hands on top of your head, okay? Like this. All right. So now let's go ahead and read the poem with the hand movements, okay? So we're going to read it together and do the hand movements together, okay? All right, ready? All right, here we go. Stop and think. That's the important link for giving yourself some time before you make up your mind. Stop and think. Good job, guys. You did an awesome job. I hope this helps you remember how to stop and think before you make decisions. Okay? Okay, class. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play a quick game as a class, okay? We're going to work together to help Wagner. The game is called Homeward Bound. I did shut my light off so you could see this a little bit better. Okay? So we are going to help Wagner reach his house, right? Reach his dog house before the storm comes, okay? There's a huge storm coming, and Wagner wants to make sure he gets home before the storm hits, okay? So how are we going to help Wagner do this? Well, I have decision cards here, okay? I'm going to read them to you, and if we get them right, we'll either move 1, 2, or 3 paw prints closer to his doghouse, okay? But I have some decisions in here that are not so good, right? They're bad decisions. So, and if we do that, then what we're going to do is we are going to move our pawn up here. You can see that there's a sun, there's a little sun and a cloud, 2 clouds, clouds and rain, and then this is where the storm hits, okay? So we don't want to land on this cloud, right? Because then that means that we didn't achieve our goal and we didn't help Wagner get home on time, right? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, so sometimes I will ask you to think about your answer too, okay? So if the class gets the answer wrong, Wagner's just going to stay where he is, okay? And he doesn't get any closer to his doghouse. But also, like I said before, there are also cards in here that describe Wagner's decisions that have bad consequences, okay? If I read one of those cards, we will move 1 cloud closer to the storm, okay? So we really don't want to reach one of those bad consequence cards, right? Because we don't want to be in the storm, okay? So let's go ahead and start, okay? And there's also cards in here that help us move back a cloud towards the sun if we answer them correctly. So make sure you're listening very carefully to the cards here, okay? So let's begin. All right. So this is the scenario, okay? And we're going to have to make a decision. You broke the teacher's flower vase. Let's stop and think. Okay? Should you tell the truth? Yes, we should, right? Okay, good job. So the card says here, move forward 1 paw print. So that's what I'm going to do here. I have the pawn, okay? See right here? Oh, I have the pawn. So I'm going to move up 1, okay? Now, on to the next card. You can't find your bike helmet. Okay, let's stop and think. The question is, should you ride without it? So you forgot, or excuse me, you can't find your bike helmet. Okay? So, should you ride without it? Well, let's think about this for a minute. It's not safe to ride your bike without a helmet, right? So, the answer is no. Right, good job. Because it's not safe. So if we decided to ride our bike without the helmet, the possible negative consequence could be you could get a head injury, right? And then have to go to the hospital because you didn't wear your helmet. So, right, we should not ride our bike without a helmet. The answer is no. Good job. So what we're going to do, the card says move forward 1 paw print. All right, we're getting closer and closer. Okay, so now the next card here, it's time for bed. You are sleepy. Let's stop and think. Think about those consequences, right? The question is, should you brush your teeth? So you're sleepy, right? And you're like, oh, I don't want to get up. I'm just so sleepy, but I know I need to brush my teeth. That's the healthy thing to do, right? That's the best decision, is for me to get up and go brush my teeth, right? So let's think about this. If we decide to stay in bed and not brush our teeth, that's not the healthiest choice, right? And the possible consequences, we could get cavities, right? We could have really, really bad breath in the morning because we didn't brush our teeth the night before. So we stopped and think, right? The consequence would be having cavities in the near future, having stinky breath in the next morning. So we thought about it. We stopped and thought, should we brush your teeth before bed, even if you're so sleepy? Yes, we should, because that's the healthy thing to do. So this one says, move forward 3 paw prints. So 1, 2, 3. All right, we're getting closer. All right, so the next card says, you need to leave for school. It is cold outside. Okay, stop and think. So you need to leave for school. It is cold outside. The question is, should you get a coat? Think about that. Why should you get a coat? Why should you get a coat? Well, it's cold outside, right? You don't want to be cold all day. Okay? So yes, you should get a coat. What if we decided to not get a coat? We would have been freezing all day. Okay? And when we're cold and when we need a coat, that's not healthy for us, right? We want to make sure that we're warm. Okay? Especially in wintertime, you need your coat. So let's go ahead and move 1 paw print, because we got that one right. Okay. Next one. Someone throws food at you. Okay, that's not very nice, right? So let's stop and think. Should you throw food back at them? So if somebody throws food at you, what should you do? Should you do the same? No, right? Because what's the consequence? What would happen if you threw food at them? You'd get in trouble, right? Okay, and you'd probably hurt their feelings too. So that's the negative consequence if we threw food. So right, guys, so now we're going to move 3 more paw prints. 1, 2, 3. All right, we're almost there. Okay, it's starting to rain. Let's stop and think. It's raining. Should you leave your bike outside? Well, if we left our bike outside, it might ruin the paint, right? It might make our seat wet. Okay, so why shouldn't you leave your bike in the rain? Just like what I said, right? It might ruin our bike. Our parents, whoever we live with, might be upset. Whoever bought you that bike might be upset because we're not being responsible. We're not making that responsible decision to put our bike away after we are done using it. So, again, should we leave your bike outside if it's raining? No, that's not the best decision. Good job. So let's go ahead and move 1 paw print. Okay. The next one here. You are hungry. I'm pretty hungry too right now. So let's stop and think. Should you wash your hands before you eat? Yes, right? Always wash your hands before you eat because you never know what's on your hands germ-wise, right? So that it's the healthiest choice to wash your hands before you eat. Okay, so we're going to move forward 2 paw prints. So 1, 2, we're almost there. You guys are doing an awesome job. Okay, your puppy is hungry. You feel lazy. All right, so let's stop and think. You're feeling lazy, but your puppy's hungry, and it's your responsibility to take care of your puppy, right? Should you get up and feed your puppy? Yes, it's your responsibility. Now, say if we didn't feed our puppy, your puppy's going to be super duper hungry, right? And we don't want that. And then say whoever got us the puppy, they might be upset with us because we're not responsibly taking care of the puppy, okay? So even though we're tired and we're feeling lazy, we still need to make those good decisions so we have positive consequences. So the positive consequence if we decide to feed our puppy, would be that the puppy's belly's full, right? He's not hungry anymore. So, should you get up and feed your puppy? The answer is yes. So let's go ahead and move for 2 paw prints. Okay. Next one here. You did not study for your test. Okay, let's stop and think. We didn't study for the test. Okay, so the possible consequence could be not getting a very good grade on it, right? So the question is, should you cheat? No, right? Because if we cheat on our test, what is the negative consequence? You're probably going to get a 0. You might get caught, and you most likely will, and you're going to get a 0. Okay? That's not the responsible thing to do. Your teacher wants to know what you think, not what your neighbor thinks. Okay? So, right, the answer to this question, should you try to cheat? The answer is no. Okay? That is not the responsible decision. So let's go ahead and move the paw print. One more. Okay, let's count here. Let's take a break from the cards. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 paw prints to go so Wagner reaches his home. So we're almost there, and Wagner is super thankful for us. So the next one, you bumped into somebody on the playground. Okay, let's stop and think. Should you say I'm sorry? Okay, so if somebody bumped into you and just walked away and didn't say they were sorry, okay, that would probably hurt your feelings, right? It would hurt mine, right? Especially if when they bumped into you, it hurt, okay? So yes, we should say we're sorry. So good job. So let's go ahead and move 2 more paw prints. 1, 2, okay? All right, because we said sorry, the positive consequence is nobody's feelings are hurt. Okay? All right, so you do not understand the math problem. Stop and think. Should you ask for help? Why should you ask for help? You should absolutely ask for help. Asking for help is okay. It's okay to ask questions. I ask questions all the time. If we don't ask questions, then we won't know, right? Then we won't have that clarity of knowing what we need to know or understanding what we need to know. So yes, you should ask for help, okay? So say if we didn't ask for help, the negative consequence would probably be you'd get the math problem wrong, right? And we don't want that. So the responsible thing to do is to ask for help. So the positive consequence could be you getting the math problem correct. So good job. Now we're going to go ahead and move 2 more paw prints. Okay, we have 4 more to go. You are playing outside and you are thirsty. So let's stop and think. You're playing outside and you are thirsty. Should you get a drink of water? Yes, you should, because your body needs water to stay alive, okay? When you're thirsty, you should drink water. It's the healthy choice. So now say if we did not drink water, we made that decision to not drink anything. We might feel like we have a headache, okay? We might not feel good if we're not giving what our body needs. Our body needs water, especially when you're thirsty, okay? So should you drink water when you're thirsty and playing outside? The answer is yes. That is the healthy, responsible decision. So let's go ahead and move 3 paw prints. 1, 2, 3. We're almost there, Wagner. Okay. You want some gum, but have no money. Let's stop and think. stop, remember, stop and think. All right, so should you steal the gum? Okay, we all know stealing is not okay, right? That is a bad decision. So the answer is no, right? So even though we don't have any money, we can't just steal the gum. We can't take what we can't pay for, right? Okay, so the answer is no. Okay, so you want that gum, but we cannot steal it. So the responsible decision is to not take it, right? Or to maybe ask somebody to pay for it for you, like your parent or your brother or sister, aunt or uncle, okay? So the negative consequence of stealing the gum could be serious trouble. You could get in trouble with the law, okay? You can get in trouble with your parents, your guardian, okay? You might get grounded, all right? That's not good. So let's go ahead and move a paw print. Move our paw into the paw print. And look, we have reached Wagner's home. Good job, guys. So we helped Wagner make all of these decisions, okay? And now he has made it home before the storm has hit. So awesome job. Wagner appreciates it, okay? And you all did a great job. Before we end our lesson, I want to just go over the Stop and Think poem one more time. So, remember, stop and think. That's the important link for giving yourself some time before you make up your mind. Stop and think. Okay? Good job, guys. Have an awesome day, and I'm glad we learned to stop and think before we make decisions. Okay, in our next lesson, we're going to learn about feelings. And again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at scazaprevention@gmail.com. Have your teacher or your parent or a trusted adult to do that for you, and I'd love to hear from you, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.